everyone. This is Hannah Fletcher with MUSE TV. I am speaking with Cybil Lake. It is so nice to meet you.
Thank you. Hi, nice to meet you.
Thank you so much. And thank you, obviously, for taking the time to speak with us. I want to say congratulations on this project, on your series for Malibu Mother of Two. You've won several awards, which I want to say congratulations to that. That's incredible. I want to start with, what is it like, obviously, having this piece of work? And obviously, it's very personal to you, and we'll get into that. But what's it like having this open to the public and receiving the reactions in real time? What has that been like for you?
Well, it's actually been quite a journey of like highs and lows, because at first I had this sort of very outgoing vibe. I was like really feeling it, like I'm sharing it with the world. And then I started thinking, like, oh, what are the moms gonna think when I'm at drop off? Like like it's just weird things. Like I started thinking, oh, is this too personal? That's like what came up. I was like, wow, this actually has details that are so much more personal than I realized when I wrote it. And when you really get exposed, you're very vulnerable.
Definitely. Well, and that actually brings me to my next question. I was just curious, and that kind of taps into it, and we can even take it a step further with whatever obviously you're comfortable with. But one thing that I think is fascinating about your approach with this, and even when others kind of take this approach as well, you're putting a piece of your life out there. So you have decisions of like what's going into this, maybe even certain things make the cutting room floor in post, maybe they don't. But what's it been like having all of these series of events, rather, kind of like that have already happened to you? What has it been like for you seeing that pan out on screen? And even now you're mentioning that, you've received the opportunity to kind of take it in, and you're seeing a mixed bag of reviews, and you're feeling different types of things. But ultimately, how are you feeling, and are you happy with the decision, I guess, that you made in order to be so personal with your audience?
Yeah, it's such a good question. So that's a lot of things. So
Yeah.
when I wrote it, I didn't, sometimes you write, you're in the flow. I didn't even realize that it was so personal. I thought I was actually writing about a character. I realized I was writing about myself. I have two boys, I'm sober. I'm a mom who moved from New York City. It's, the only difference is, because of drama, is I added, because I'm kind of fascinated with the idea. I'm married, and I don't have an open marriage, but I did have a friend in New York who had an open marriage. They are divorced now, but okay. I was fascinated with that aspect. And in fact, I started worrying, oh my God, are people also going to think that me and Rick, my husband, have an open marriage? Like, wow. And like, are people going to treat us differently? And it was different writing it and then even editing it, I wasn't quite aware. The awareness came when like I thought about screening it, and it was like, wow, this is way more personal than I realized.
Wow. What was the what did the dynamic look like between you and Rick as this was panning out, even in the writing process? Like, did it cause any type of anything in the relationship? Was he very supportive? Is he still obviously like very into it? Did it even have an effect at all?
Yeah, it's a good question, because I've had like a past where I've had like relationships where people weren't really supportive of most arts, and it's such a nice experience to be with Rick. He's chill, first of all, and so like he's just not going to worry about it. I worry about everything, and he's just going to let it be. He's busy, and I don't think that the husband character has anything really in common. So I think he probably just thinks, go for it. He's very supportive, and I appreciate that. He's not in the entertainment business. And sometimes he says, I wish I had other ways to help you. Because, if you're not in it, you don't even know really the struggle. Most jobs, as you know, you get a job and then you
Right. And then you're good.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And then at that point, you could just promote and kind of work your way up. No, that is definitely, that is a different, any time that I've ever had like a significant other, boyfriend, whatever, they have not been in the industry. And I think it would be kind of interesting to see what it would be like if I did have somebody in the industry. But it is kind of, I do like it though, when they're not in the industry. I will say it is kind of nice, because it's like, then you really have like, you're in your lane, I'm in my lane, and then we root for each other, and it's kind of like, I don't really fully understand your career. You don't really fully understand mine. It's kind of nice. But I feel like the ones who do like
what, when you were saying that, it's such a beautiful way to say it.
Yeah.
And in fact, it's cleaner in a way. It's not as messy, because I do have friends who are married and say one of them gets super successful. It's hard not to have feelings about that.
Right. Yeah, well, and I noticed that even I had a bunch of friends in college that would date, and even, it's boys versus girls, and then it's like arguably a lot of the times they weren't going up for the same role, but then the girl might book way more than the guy or vice versa, and then it's like then they're comparing. I had one friend in particular, she was always jealous of the boyfriend. I was like, but guys just get more roles because there's just less guys, especially in like theater too, and that's what she was always comparing it to, and I was like, dang it, girl, I'm sorry. Oh my gosh.
I actually needed to hear that reminder because, I know more men actors who book more.
Right, exactly. There you go. Take that with you. I'm curious to ask you, so obviously, I mean, I'm an East Coaster as well. I'm from like the DC area. And then I've been to New York plenty of times. I went to school in Philly. What was your culture shock experience like coming from New York to LA, and how did that obviously have a hand in this project as well for you?
Yeah. In fact, I wrote the first couple drafts earlier when so I've been here for 5 years. So, some acclimation coming, happening. And there were so many changes. So I came from New York. Most of my life, I lived in New York for 24 years. I grew up in Rhode Island, but I was mostly in New York, and single artist, actor, writer, hustling as you do, and independent. And then, you're pregnant and then married and then another child. And then Rick's parents are here. So we moved here. And I said, the only place I'm going to live, obviously, is LA. So we got here, and it was like, whoa, it's a lot still. It's still, it's silent. It's the white noise cacophony of New York that actually fed my energy was not there. And it was just like, whoa, and I need to slow down. I'm in the grocery store, like, come on. I'm in the restaurants, like, you just took my order. Where's my food?
Yeah.
I have really had to work. And also I have a lot of energy. So that kind of worked with New York, rush, 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 rush. But here you need to experience what LA is. And LA is such a mystery, it's so many facets of it that it's incomprehensible, really. And I've started to really like it. I've been here before for, different things, but this is the longest stretch I've ever had. And well, first of all, no seasons.
Right. Right.
And that's an interesting experience because coming from the East Coast, a lot of the time I think it's sunny. I got to go take advantage of that. I can't work on the computer or do anything. I got to go outside and experience the sun, but it's always sunny. So you actually need to just close the shades and concentrate.
Yeah. No, honestly, even with you saying about that makes a lot of sense with the white noise cacophony, which I love it. Of course, you're a writer. Look at you. That's beautifully said. But also, I think that that's something to really pay attention to because, I mean, I lived in Philly for 4 years, and that was, obviously nothing compared to New York, but that was a big step from coming up in a small town in Virginia, 60 miles outside of DC. So I think that even for me, I felt like this like internal energy, and I was like, well, I also had to walk everywhere all the time. And then I'm like, why am I in LA? And I'm always just like so tired. And like, I'm just like so chill. And it's like, well, yeah, I hear a horn every once in a while, but it is much different than obviously being in just such a congested conglomeration of people that is big city life, really.
In fact, that was one of the biggest motivations. And then the story changed. In fact, it was supposed to be, initially it was sort of like fish out of water, New Yorker coming to LA. But as I kind of transitioned into a California person, it became more about like these other aspects, like sobriety, relationships, friendships, wellness. That's her area. So she writes about wellness and sobriety. And so when she relapses, that's a big problem because, her livelihood is based on that.
Definitely. And obviously, when it comes to injecting sensitive topics, quite like the idea of pursuing sobriety, and obviously it's not a linear path most of the time for those who are looking to kind of commit to that new form of life. What did it look like writing from that particular lens and that aspect? And like, was there any also like apprehension around writing around that topic, I guess.
There is apprehension because it's a delicate subject.
Right.
There's Alcoholics Anonymous, right? It's
Right.
supposed to be, but there's so much media, so many shows, so many films that I think actually really help and shine light on sobriety. So I feel comfortable with that. But what's funny is I have next month I have 14 years of sobriety. And when I'm writing, thank you, I was like, well, I want to make sure she has less time, because I was like, I'm afraid I'll be writing about the future. Like, say she had 16 years in relapse. I didn't even want to put that down on the paper. So I was like,
Right.
she'll have 7 years and relapse, because that's already way in the past. So I felt comfortable with that. And that was funny that I felt that way.
That's,
Like,
no,
super,
I like that. That's a very good conscious decision to make, though. I think that that's really, and also that's very mentally healthy for you, writing and again interjecting a lot of your own personal experience into this character, into this project in general. I think that that's very smart.
oh my God. And the biggest one I only just noticed yesterday. So when I first started writing it, I was super close with my sister. She's gone through some massive changes and has cut off her family, which is very sad.
Mhm.
And she's with a controlling partner. And when the structure of the story is based, the bottom of it, the thread of it is her relationship with her sister. And it was always estranged. And that was crazy, because I saw that yesterday and I thought, wow, I was writing about that. That was like actually one of my worst fears. But now, over time, I don't have any like emotional feeling about it. Like, I can tell you, and it feels like I'm reading the news, but it hurt for a long time. But a big part of the story, there was a tragic accident that involved her and her sister. And they were estranged. And now me and my sister are estranged. It's so crazy.
Oh, wow. Oh my goodness. That's like, I don't like to say like, oh, that's like manifesting, but also, it's also kind of like maybe there was a gut instinct that something like that was going to happen, and then it found itself on paper, and then it ended up coming true. We'll kind of phrase it like that instead of like, oh, you manifested it. Because
Yes,
I don't like using that context in that context if we can avoid it, of course,
exactly. That's why I didn't want to manifest the possible writing down of
Right.
the. In fact, I sometimes always would, like, when I made a horror film, and there was a scene where I was like in a physical fight with somebody, and I had to kind of mentally tell myself, okay, you're not really this character, and you're not like bringing this into your life, this violence. You're just going to have fun with it. You're just going to have fun with it and explore. And so that gives you a freedom,
Mm-hmm. I love that. I love the idea of diving into a character like that, but then creating that separation as well. It's very healthy to be able to do that. That's a good healthy tactic for sure. I would love to ask you, what is it that you are hoping that your audience is feeling, resonating with, talking about after seeing this series? And what do you think is going to ultimately possibly come next for you and for this project? We'll kind of wrap it up with that.
Okay, great. Yeah. So what I wanted to do was capture sobriety and relapse and real life problems like marriage problems and friendships, but do it as light as possible, because I just feel like I need lightness, I need color, and
Yes.
even a little bit of maybe glamour and fun.
Right.
And so I want it to feel light, but that you got meaning from. Sometimes when I work out, I watch reality shows, and
Nice.
I like it because they're so light, but I hate all the silly snappy snaps. So I thought, if I could make a lighter show about something with meaning, that would be very valuable. And I know that there's an audience out there. So, under the aegis of that, it's style and fun, but you're also taking away a meaning, like a theme that matters, wellness, sobriety. And I'm hoping to even have little clips of things like meditation and yoga to sort of intersperse. And so you walk away feeling like you learned something.
I love that. I think that everything that you said, like, we need lightness, we need I like what you said, because it's a good balance of kind of like what we need right now. Like, there are serious matters at hand. I was actually just interviewing one of the contestants from 90 Day Fiance right before I hopped on with you. And we were talking about all these different things like trials and tribulations and happiness and love, and like, even how we hope that divorce rates go down. We were talking about that. So I love, though, that you made a project that was obviously extremely cathartic for you, but that also you know, like you mentioned, you're bringing into the world kind of what you hope to see and what you would like to indulge. And I think that
Yeah.
that's very important to keep in mind when in the writing room, especially.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that so much. Well, I just want to say thank you so much for speaking
Thank
with
you
us.
so much.
Congratulations on everything.
Was such a pleasure. Have a wonderful day. Bye.
Bye, thank you.
Bye.